It's been a few weeks since we've done this the last time. It's been a couple of things that have happened in the meantime. So I think it was worth it to bring back some, look at the old logo, the worst take logo, and we're going to go through what some of your hot takes were post Deshaun Watson trade, post almost all of the stuff that's happened in the last few weeks. I want to see where Browns fans are at and where Browns fans are what are Browns fans saying about the rest of the NFL. So we're going to start here with Darth Buckeye, who says Baker will be traded to the Steelers where he'll become the next Browns destroyer because that's our damn luck. Sure, right? It's just as likely that Mitchell Trubisky becomes the next Browns destroyer, right? Because he's from Cleveland, right? Like, I think you have to be really good to be the Browns destroyer, right? Like, that's just what it is. Ben Roethlisberger, you can say whatever you want about him. I don't have great thoughts about him as a player because, the man's destroyed the Browns his whole career, but Ben Roethlisberger's a legit Hall of Famer. Like, you got to be good to be able to dominate the Browns like that. And that's just what that was, right? Like, Ben Roethlisberger's domination of the Browns wasn't because he played for the Steelers. It's because the Steelers were just better teams than the Browns, and the Steelers were just, they had better players, and Ben was one of them, right? So, no, I don't think Baker is better than what the Browns have at quarterback right now, even if they do have him, right? Like, if they sign Baker, the Steelers still have the fourth worst quarterback in the AFC North. That's just the truth, right? It doesn't really change much for them, whether they have him or not. So I don't get the whole amount of people who are living in fear of where Baker goes because, oh my God, Baker's going to become Drew Brees. That ship has sailed with him, man. Like, he might become a good starting NFL quarterback, but I don't think he's going to be an MVP caliber guy anytime soon, if ever. So, yeah, I'm not worried about wherever he goes. Next question comes from Austin, who says, Njoku will lead the Browns in touchdowns and yards, breaking over 1,000. Now, this is a hot take because he's saying that, Njoku's going to have more touchdowns and yards than Amari Cooper. Now, I would disagree with this. I think Amari Cooper's going to have a monster year, at least in the touchdown department. I don't know how many yards he's going to get, but I do think he's going to have a lot of touchdowns this year, and I'll explain that later. But, yeah, do I think David Njoku will have his breakout year? Yeah, I don't know what that looks like for David Njoku. Maybe that's 800 yards, maybe it's 900, maybe it is 1,000 for him. But I do think David will probably post his best numbers this year. I don't think they're going to be the best numbers on the Browns team. If it is, then cancel Christmas. Like, if David Njoku just turns into, which I don't think it's going to happen, but if he just turns into George Kittle all of a sudden, then yeah, man, sign me up for that. But I don't think it's that likely. All right, Alex with the hot take here says Lions will be a top 5 team this year. What in the world inspired that take? Like, what? I don't even know how you could get there, right? Like, Malik Willis, Baker Mayfield, like, is it one of those two that's making you think they're going to be a top 5 team? I need more to explain. You can't just drop the Lions are going to be a top 5 team when they've been top 5 dookie for like the last 3 years and not explain it. Like, you can't just drop that one. No, you got to have some context in this. You got to say why it is. You think not Kerryon Johnson. Do you think DeAndre Swift is going to like lead the league in total yards or something crazy like that? And that's going to lead them. Like, how in the world would a lie? That's just saying something to say something. You got to actually have something to defend it if you're going to have a hot take. All right. The next hot take. Ooh, this is going to light up the comment section. Remember, I didn't say this. Seaman says Baker is not playing another snap in the NFL. Oof. Oh, this is just hard to believe, right? That Baker is that is viewed as that toxic to some teams. And NFL front offices are super fickle on what they think is toxic and what they think they can work with, right? And a lot of that depends on how good they think that player is. I don't think that Baker has gotten to the point to where his toxicity has outweighed his ability as far as being able to stay in the NFL. He can most certainly get there, right? If he decides wants to go scorch earth on this podcast, that'll put him pretty close, right? You know what I mean? Like that will put him pretty close to that line because it's one thing. Like I've heard people compare this to Odell, and Odell never came out and said anything, right? We were inferring stuff from what his father was saying and how he did not stop his father from saying the things that his father was saying publicly. But that was not Odell going on a podcast, right? Like Odell handled his exit, I think, much better than how Baker Mayfield is handling it, right? Because at the end of the day, he really didn't say anything publicly until he was released. Baker Mayfield, on the other hand, has been kicking and screaming this whole time, and he ain't even off the damn roster yet. So when it comes to Baker, I think he's walking on thinner ice than a lot of people think. And if he decides to go scorched earth, people just don't want to put up with that at the quarterback position, right? Like they just don't want to put up with somebody that they feel like is going to add extra stress into a building that's not really worth it, especially at the quarterback position where that's supposed to be a position that, you know, leadership is valued at a premium, right? So he can talk himself out the NFL, and that would truly be what it is. He did not play himself out the NFL because play-wise he should be in the NFL, but he can talk himself out the NFL if he really wants to, and I just hope he decides to change course on this strategy that he's had the last few weeks, because you can argue that it's not doing the Browns any favors. It really doesn't matter if it does or doesn't do the Browns favors. Like, I'm not talking about it from that perspective, but like just for Baker Mayfield, like, is this doing him favors? Like, how is this helping him? Right? Like, how does this make you look better? That's the question I would ask. But yeah, it would be real sad if he talked himself out the NFL like in year 5. That's ridiculous. All right, the next hot take is from Joey, who says the Broncos will finish last in the AFC West. That's interesting. It could happen, right? Now, I've been a big fan of Russ for a while. I was a advocate of Russ being one of the trade options for the Cleveland Browns. But as much as I do believe in Russ, the part of that whole equation that I thought was overrated from the beginning was the Broncos. Like the Broncos as this plug and play Super Bowl contending option to me was something that I felt like was overrated from the beginning. We'll find out this year if I was wrong or right on that. But I never saw in the last 3 years where the Broncos were this plug and play. You know, if you add a quarterback, they're all of a sudden a Super Bowl contending team. I never felt like that. I thought their defense was massively overrated last year. I mean, this is a defense that lost the game to Case Keenum in like a third string running back, which no disrespect to Dearness Johnson. Dearness is a really good third string running back, but it ain't like he had the Browns' best effort. And you lost that game to Case Keenum. This defense, everybody's telling me that the Broncos have, that's going to be like a championship contending defense already. I don't know. I call BS on that. Offensively, they got some nice names on there. Well, they got some nice prospects on there, but nothing really concrete, right? Like, this is not a Cleveland Browns situation where the Cleveland Browns showed promise. They went 11-5 in 2020. And the roster, I think, is much more impressive in Cleveland than it is in Denver. And they went that route. Well, the Browns, their roster is that good. When you look at the Broncos, do you really feel the same? I don't know. To me, I felt like the Broncos equation of it, the roster that he came to, very overrated. And I think Russ can still be good, but, you know, a good Russ can still only win 6 games in a conference that's as tough as the AFC. So it's very possible that, you know, despite Russ being a better quarterback, that the Broncos could finish last, because honestly, I think they're the worst team in the AFC West still, right? I think the Broncos are, not the Broncos. I think the Chiefs are better than the Broncos. I think the Raiders are better than the Broncos, especially after adding Devontae Adams. And I think the Chargers are better than the Broncos, even with Russ. I think that the Broncos are still the worst team in that division. And I think that's mainly due to people just overrating that roster. It's a lot of prospects and upside there that hasn't really proven anything. And again, this defense is the main point of why people are hyping up this Broncos roster. Is not really that good. Like, look at some of the games they drop in the season, and it's like, inexcusable, right? Like if you lose a game to if the Browns defense would have lost that game to Tim Boyle, I would not be sitting here talking about the Browns having a great defense because they lost a damn game to Tim Boyle, right? And look, Case Keenum ain't as bad as Tim Boyle, but it's still bad if you lose a game to Case Keenum, and you're supposed to be a defensive juggernaut, right? To me, I've always felt like that Broncos side of the equation was just super overrated, but maybe I'm just wildly wrong on that. I'll find out this year. I will. All right, the next question comes from Brawley, who says Amari Cooper will have more touchdowns than Saquon and Christian McCaffrey will have games played combined this year. Dog, I forgot all about Saquon Barkley's existence. How long has it been since that brother has played a snap in the NFL? Has it been like 2 years? And Christian McCaffrey, man, I don't even remember the last time he was around for a full season. It was like 2 years ago, too. I think it's been 2019 since these dudes been relevant in the NFL. Crazy. Now, when it comes to Amari Cooper and his ability to get touchdowns in his offense, if Deshaun is able to play the bulk of the games this year, Amari's going to have a lot of touchdowns because Amari Cooper's best route is Deshaun Watson's go-to route, right? You know, that kind of route that where he fakes that he's going to do like a shallow cross and he comes back out and does an out, right? It's a shallow out. That's the route that Deshaun threw to win the national championship game to Hunter Renfrow. And that's Amari Cooper's best and favorite route, right? If you watch him in Dallas in the end red zone, he loves to go to that route. So when you combine those two things, somebody whose best route is also your quarterback's favorite route, you put 2 and 2 together in the red zone, there's probably going to be a lot of touchdowns there. I think Amari Cooper's going to have a great year this year. The next question comes from Chunk, who says, the Bengals, y'all got to stop with this Bengal hate, man. The Bengals run was fluke. The Browns are getting better. Ravens are going to be healthy. Also, competitive Steelers. Bengals finish either 3rd or 4th. Look, man, the Bengals are in first place until they prove it otherwise, in my opinion. I don't think it was a fluke. I think they have an absolute baller at the quarterback position, and that's going to be the difference for them, right? I don't think that's a fluke by any means. Yeah, but that's going to be it for your hot takes this week. A lot of hot takes. I'm looking forward to what you guys are going to do the next time I do this. But thank you guys for dropping those hot takes. Thank you guys for watching. Y'all have a great day. Have a good night.